Hi, my name is Allison Reese. I'm a council member for the city of Satsuma, and I am here today to read a book to you. Around America to Win the Vote by Mara Rockcliffe and illustrated by Hallie Hooper. On April 6, 1916, a little yellow car set out from New York City. It carried tools, spare parts, a teeny tiny typewriter, an itsy bitsy sewing machine, one stout leather trunk bursting with useful things, two smiling women, and a wee black kitten with a yellow ribbon tied around its neck. The taller woman was Nell Richardson. The smaller one was Alice Burke. Together they planned to drive all the way around America. It was a great big country, but they had a great big cause. Votes for women, Alice told reporters. Votes for women, Nell agreed. They said the typewriter and the sewing machine were all part of their plan. If anyone said women didn't have the brains to vote, then Nell would dash a poem off right then and there to prove they did. If anyone said they should cook and sew and leave running the nation to the men, then Nell would whip up an apron while Alice gave a speech to prove they could do both. And if the two of them could circle the United States 10,000 bumpy, muddy, unmapped miles, facing danger and adventure all alone with just each other and a kitten in their little yellow car, well, that would prove that women could do anything. So off they went. That very day, they had their first adventure when a horse pulling a wagon down a narrow road refused to let them pass. Nell tied a Votes for Women yellow daffodil behind its ear. Then the horse stepped aside and let the little yellow car go on its way. In Philadelphia, they stood up on their seats to speak to the great city crowd. Men and women cheered. But the next morning, blizzard. Alice and Nell drove through howling wind and swirling snow to Baltimore. Where they arrived in time to be the guest of honor at a very fancy party. The next day, when they stopped for gas, a crowd of men clustered around the little yellow car. Alice hopped up on the seat to give her speech, but no one listened, so she told them all about the car instead. Votes for women, the men said, and waved as Nell and Alice drove away. After a quick visit to Washington, D.C., they came upon the bumpiest and muddiest road yet. The little yellow car went bump and squelch and finally got stuck. They huddled, wet and shivering, until the sun came up and two strong mules appeared to pull their car out of the mud. In Virginia, Nell and Alice passed a school, and all the children ran to see the little yellow car. They drove into North Carolina, passing fields of singing birds and butterflies and goldenrod. And nearly fell into a hole where a bridge used to be. Next came deep puddles, sticky clay, and thick, wet sand. In South Carolina, a whole town turned out and treated them to an all-yellow lunch. In Georgia, they joined a circus parade. Everywhere they met crowds. Everywhere Nell and Alice told them V for W. Outside Gulfport, Mississippi, the little yellow car finally found a mud puddle it couldn't cross. They sneaked the kitten onto the train and smuggled it into a fine hotel in New Orleans. Then the little yellow car arrived and they were on their way. They dodged bullets by the Rio Grande, drove on through the desert of Mexico, and got lost for days in Arizona, till finally they reached California, where they won a medal at the fair for driving all the way across America. But they still had lots of miles and lots of adventures on the road ahead. On September 30th, 1916, a little yellow car drove into New York City. It carried mud and dust and signatures and souvenirs from all around America, 2 smiling and sunburned women, and a full-grown cat. They arrived to a grand welcome. And a great big yellow cake. After 10,000 bumpy, muddy, unmapped miles, Nell was ready for a rest. And Alice? She turned right around across the country all over again. This time, she took the train. The end.